What's up, you guys? Well, if you're watching this, it's because I had to create a edited beginning to this video to make a statement, because if you think you've already seen this video, you have. And if you're wondering why it's shown as a new upload, it's because YouTube, in its infinite stupidity, decided to put an age restriction on my video. Now, my portion of the video is nothing but commentary. I don't say anything in there. I don't show anything in there that isn't already part of the news' story. So the underlying video that was a product of the ABC 15 news station does not have an age restriction. So how much sense does that make? The ABC 15 news story is embedded within my video. The ABC 15 news story does not have an age restriction. It's gotten 1 million views. But my video that had 10,000 views gets an age restriction, thus killing it. So, to the geniuses at YouTube, if you don't restrict the underlying video and all I add is commentary pursuant to the fair use doctrine, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put an age restriction on my video. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. By now, just about everybody has been made aware in some capacity about what most people consider to be a vicious and unlawful arrest of a disabled black man named Tyrone McAlpin in Phoenix, Arizona by the Phoenix PD. Now, I didn't do an initial video on the arrest, quite frankly, because we didn't have a ton of information at the time. And it doesn't take an entire criminal justice process to look at that. I mean, some things you just look at and you know they're bad, right? And John Bryan covered it. He did a great job. He covered most of the legal points that were necessary at the time. But one thing that nobody's actually done is sort of walk through the legality of what the officers were saying they were trying to do. So there's been some updates. A lot of stuff has changed since the original arrest happened. And so I figured I would just do an update. There was just an update that came out yesterday. There's new video out that has not been released prior. It's been released by ABC News 15, which is a Phoenix affiliate of ABC. And I'm going to play that video, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the circumstances along the way and get you guys the update. I do suggest that you go over to ABC News 15 station and just comment on the video, watch it from their channel, and support their work in this case, because they've really been on Phoenix PD for a lot of different stuff, but specifically for this. In fact, I would say between this video and John Bryan's video, a lot of the public pressure that has come to bear on the Phoenix government is because of the coverage by those two outlets of this particular incident. So let's check out the video and then we'll come back and talk a little bit.
Tonight, you're watching new and exclusive video. For the first time, you'll see the man who is deaf, beaten and tasered by Phoenix police, give his side of the story. He's being recorded by officers inside the hospital right after that violent arrest. ABC 15 Chief Investigator Dave Biskobing broke the story.
And tonight, Dave's back with several new videos that reveal a lot more about what happened.
This case is a messy one for Phoenix police. It's got the nation's attention. It's under internal investigation. It happened after the DOJ's investigation, and there's going to be a lawsuit. And the new video you're about to see will play a role in all of it. By now, you and millions of others have seen this video of this violent arrest. Officers jumping out of their cars, then punching and tasering Tyrone McAlpin. What you haven't seen is this video, taken 90 minutes later, showing Tyrone in the hospital. This is not a police interview, but officers are recording him. It shows a doctor or nurse asking Tyrone about his injuries.
So the first thing I want to comment on is what the police should have known from their perspective in order for them to justify trying to forcibly detain him anyway, right? So you need reasonable articulable suspicion. Those are three separate terms, right, that each independently matter, okay? So the first thing you have to understand is that Phoenix police got called there to eject a trespasser at the gas station. They're called by the gas station management or employees to get this guy out, right? So they get this, the guy that they're supposed to be getting out is a white guy. So the way the story first came out, it was like, oh, well, they were looking for a white guy. They just snatched a random black guy. That isn't quite what happened. I'm not defending what they did. What they did was atrocious, but that's not actually what happened. What actually happened was they go to the store to try to eject the white guy that the gas station management team asked them to come and eject, right? When they get in there and they start dealing with the white guy starts telling them about an encounter that he'd had with another patron, which you probably already know this, but I'm just doing it for the benefit of the people who don't know it. And so he says, yeah, this guy was trying to exclude me from the store and he assaulted me. And if you pay attention to what this complainant actually says, he says, I felt violent. I think he was trying to say I felt violated or I felt threatened. So again, the crime that you're looking at is assault. Okay, so first of all, that's a misdemeanor. So even if the Phoenix police wanted to make an arrest, they couldn't physically take the person into custody on a misdemeanor that didn't occur in their presence. Now, that doesn't mean they can't forcibly detain him, and I'm not saying that. You can forcibly detain a person for a misdemeanor that didn't occur in your presence. You just can't arrest them without a warrant for a misdemeanor that didn't occur in their presence in most states. Now, some states may have it. Constitutionally speaking, misdemeanors that didn't occur in your presence, there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, you need a warrant to, it's warrantless arrests apply to felonies and certain like breach of the peace type misdemeanors under most circumstances. So the crime of assault is what they're investigating. So they've got suspicion and it's based on articulable facts. You know, they got a complaint from a person who said that this happened to him, but it's not really reasonable. And the reason I say it's not reasonable is because we're going to find out towards the end of this video on the news about the conversations that they had after they beat the ass off of Tyrone McAlpin that they should have had beforehand, because that's what makes their approach to this completely unreasonable. They didn't develop this anywhere beyond, hey, this guy says that you did something to him. They didn't do any sort of background investigation whatsoever. They didn't even talk to their complainant at the gas station other than to say, who do you need kicked out? And then immediately start dealing with that guy. They had two officers. One of them didn't go back and say, hey, what's going on? That would have changed, hopefully, the whole dynamic here. But they didn't do that. They didn't do a thorough investigation. And so they might have had articulable suspicion of assault, but in my opinion, it wasn't reasonable. And I don't think a reasonable officer similarly situated would have done this that way. And that's why it fails the investigatory detention test, in my opinion, that's required under Terry versus Ohio, because you need more information. And in order to get more information, you need to go to the source of the information or the people who called you to begin with and get as much information as you possibly can. Maybe look at surveillance video, maybe talk to the store clerks. You'll hear when we go through this video, if they had done that, we probably would not be here right now. Had they been able to develop the reasonable part of reasonable articulable suspicion, then they would have had a right to try to stop him forcibly. Now, causing this enormous like physical situation where they basically just brutalized him for minutes on end and tasered him and all that stuff, that was all completely unnecessary. It doesn't take a scholarly analysis to figure that out. You can see it with your own eyes, no matter what your training or education is. Anybody should be able to look at that and say, something about that does not seem proportionate to what's going on. So we're going to actually learn as we watch this a little bit more what was going through Tyrone McAlpin's mind and what he was trying to do, and it certainly was not fighting the police.
My face. The left side of your face? Okay. Were you punched? Did you hit your head on the ground? How did your face get injured?
Tyrone is signing at this monitor. On the screen, there's an interpreter.
The officers just took me down. I guess I was sitting on my face, and I told them I was kind of to my ears, like, hey, I can't hear, pointing to my ears. I was just trying to show some gestures. And then the cops, and that's the cops that grabbed me, so I was trying to show, like, hey, I can't hear, pointing to my ears, and they grabbed me. Okay.
Again, that's from Tyrone right after the arrest, before he's ever spoken to a lawyer. And to repeat, he says he raised his arms, tried to point to his ears, but officers grabbed him too quickly.
Yeah, I was trying to tell them that I have a disability. Do you have any health problems or disabilities aside from being deaf?
Tyrone and his attorneys say he also has cerebral palsy.
So back when I was like 3 or 4 years old, I used to walk with a walker. Okay. And I had braces on both of my legs. Did you pass out? With the taser.
Tyrone told the medical worker he had trouble seeing out of his left eye, plus neck pain, chest pain, trouble breathing, and when moving to lift his shirt, he yelped in pain.
So he's trying to point to his ears to gesture to the police officer that he can't hear them. And they take that. And, maybe under the circumstances, you could sort of understand why they might, see that as an aggressive thing. But the point is they should have never been trying to lay hands on him in the first place because they didn't do their job to develop the case. But, and if they had, then this might be able to be chalked up to a misunderstanding if all it was a little bit of hand fighting and like, oh, okay, this guy's actually deaf. He doesn't understand what's going on. But these guys jumped just both feet in this guy's ass for no reason whatsoever in the grand scheme of things as we look back. But the thing that blows my mind the most is that 90 minutes later, they knew this guy had cerebral palsy. They knew he was deaf. They knew he was completely incapable of communicating whatever the issue was. And more importantly, as we're going to learn as we go through the rest of this, they knew he did not commit a crime. They knew what we're all getting ready to know about what his role was at the gas station. They knew he didn't commit a crime. And all of the negative attention that's on Phoenix PD, the fact that the DOJ is getting ready to take them over, the fact that the entire Maricopa County law enforcement, you guys, there's going to be some stories coming out in the next couple days that I'm going to cover about Maricopa County that will blow your mind at the corruption. Maybe not if you live close to there. But if you're not from there and you don't know that much about Arizona, I'm very surprised at all of the junk going on there. But the point is, all of that negative attention and all of the heat from the federal government, and these guys are not on the horn with their supervisor saying, hey, I think we fucked up here. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I shared with you guys in a previous video that I once arrested somebody for DUI. And after I got that person, they failed the field sobriety test, which was an early indicator of the reliability of field sobriety tests, but they failed miserably. This was like a 24, 25-year-old guy. Failed miserably the field sobriety test, but he was a doctor. He was a medical resident, so he was a doctor. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. Obviously I feel terrible for arresting him to begin with. But again, you're trained with the tools you're trained with, and he didn't pass the test. And he also failed the PBT, which is the preliminary breath test. But what a lot of people don't understand is that the preliminary breath test device that you have on the side of the road doesn't differentiate between like mouth alcohol. So if he just took a drink, say 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago when he left the restaurant, that would not be a good representation of what his blood alcohol concentration is in his deep lung air, which is how you measure the BAC. And so he failed the PBT and he failed all of the field sobriety tests. And I was convinced that he was intoxicated. And I took him to the station and we did all the things we're supposed to do to make sure that the results that we got on the field sobriety test and the PBT were correct. And after we waited the required time period and got him on a machine that didn't get confused about residual mouth alcohol, he blew a 0.02, which was a fourth of the legal limit. And so I didn't say, oh, well, you'll figure it out, or, you can beat the charge, but you may not beat the ride. I immediately went to the magistrate who was going to arraign him on this charge, and I dismissed it right then. I just told the magistrate just to void the warrant and released him. And that was it. I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, look, it shouldn't have taken somebody airing this on the news for millions of people to see before these guys knew they screwed up. They knew. They had to know. They're either complete sociopaths or they had to know that they screwed up. And so I think what bothers me the most is the sort of like doubling down on it as if you don't know what big pile of crap you just stepped in. We're going to find out how this thing plays out and the trajectory that it takes in order to get this guy's charges ultimately dismissed. But they knew 90 minutes later how bad this was, and they did absolutely nothing. But it even gets worse than that.
Now, we also got more body camera video that explains a lot more about what officers knew before and after the arrest. So let's start at the very beginning. This never-before-seen footage shows what the first officer was told heading to a trespassing/fight call from workers at a Circle K.
Aggressor, white female? Woo! I wonder what he said. What the hell did he say? And that's a joke, by the way, body camera. It's a joke. I give you permission to laugh at the joke.
So this moron of a police officer, he knew his body cam was on. He made a very dumb, it's not even funny. I'm fine with funny jokes about LGBT or transgender or, fat white guys or whatever you want to make jokes about. I don't care. I love comedy. I'm not big into censorship. I think you ought to be able to say whatever you want to say, but I do require it to be funny. It wasn't even funny. But he knows that the body cam's rolling. He knows everybody's going to see this. And he's still too stupid to understand what's going on here.
The officer joking with his own body camera is Officer Ben Harris. As he drives, dispatch clarifies the aggressor is actually a white man, something Officer Harris repeats to himself.
White male, 20s, gray shirt, blue shorts. White male, 20s, gray shirt, blue shorts.
Officer Harris then arrives and goes into the store.
Do you need him to leave?
Yeah, I don't want to come out.
The man claims he was assaulted by multiple people, and outside he points across the street. That's where Tyrone is walking.
You're alleging he assaulted you. Do you want him to go to jail?
Yes, he put his hands on me. I felt violent, and he was pushing me outside the door, and he was standing outside the door opening it, saying,
Why don't you wait here for me?
Harris conducts no follow-up with store employees.
Hey, buddy, stop where you're at.
Now, we've shown what happens next plenty of times. We're not going to play it all in this report.
Okay, important point. Harris conducts no follow-up with store employees, even though this person who you're ejecting and you need to serve with a trespass warning because they just asked you to kick him out is still there. He's not going anywhere. He makes some very general pointing gesture as to where this person is. And then he says that he's holding the door open trying to get him to go out. I want to explain something. Now, it may not be true in Arizona. I don't know. I don't frankly care enough to look up Arizona law and tell you exactly what Arizona law says about this. But in most places, you are allowed to stand in the shoes of someone who has a right to use force to protect themselves or protect property, right? So if you are seeing someone who's trying to eject someone from their property, the law allows a third party to stand in someone else's shoes and use whatever privilege that person would have had. If, say, the store manager is desperately trying to get this guy out of her store, and let's say that she is underpowered, undersized, whatever, can't accomplish it, a third party can step in on her behalf as long as they stay within the parameters of the privilege that that person has. In a management capacity, you have the right to exclude someone from the property over which you have like an agency or like a command or control. So the manager has the authority, right, to exclude someone from the store, and they have the right to use only the reasonable amount of force necessary to eject that person from the store. If the store employee who had that authority vested Tyrone McAlpin with that same authority to get this guy out of the store because she was incapable for whatever reason, he would have had a lawful right to do that in most states. Now again, I don't know about Arizona, and I don't care that much to go looking it up. That's not the point. The point is, had they done any follow-up whatsoever, they would know that this guy is beloved by these people, that he lives across the street, that he's constantly smiling, friendly, opening the door for people, and all he was trying to do was protect these ladies that he sees on a daily basis from a guy who was intimidating them and would not leave the store when they asked him to leave. That's all he was trying to do. And had these police officers done anything besides just run out and immediately lay hands on him, they would have known.
Apparently he's deaf, so signs, so I don't know.
So let's get to what happens after Tyrone is arrested. As other officers investigate, they continue to learn that what this guy claimed was false. In fact, back at the store, Circle K employees say he also got into a fight the night before with someone else.
He got into it with somebody in the parking lot.
The white dude.
The white dude got into it with somebody in the parking lot. That person hit him in the face and busted his face open. So he bled, the one that made the complaint today.
Yeah, because we could see when she showed up, you could see the blood on his foot.
Okay, that was from last night.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, because the one with the black guy today, they didn't even fight. I don't even think that he threw a punch.
They were doing the boxing stuff, yeah.
But they never did make contact. No, that they didn't. I'm telling you, we were all standing right here. The guy told him to leave. Like we were telling him to leave, the white guy wouldn't listen at all.
Right. That's what she was telling me.
Wouldn't listen. So then the black guy was like, "Hey man, leave."
This employee clarified Tyrone was actually motioning at the guy to leave.
She was to leave with his hands because he cannot talk.
The workers say people at the store know Tyrone. He lives nearby and comes often.
He always stands at the door and opens the doors for people. Got here, the black guy was here opening doors for everybody.
And that's his usual routine?
Yeah, he does that every day. Yeah.
Now, there's one more clip we want to show you. It's from Officer Ben Harris. Again, he's the first officer to go after Tyrone. At the scene, when describing the force he used on Tyrone, he says this.
Any strikes?
Oh yeah, head strikes. That's what broke my hand.
Head strikes.
That's different from what he said in court under oath when testifying to get criminal charges against Tyrone.
At one point, when I was trying to regain control of his arm, following his initial punch swings, it appears as though when I went to grab his arm, these fingers became jammed in his forearm and bent over all the way to my palm, as demonstrated like this.
After we broke the story, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office reversed course and dismissed the criminal charges against Tyrone. And in the coming days, his attorneys tell us they plan to file a notice of claim. That's basically the first step in a lawsuit. I'm investigator Dave Biscobing, ABC 15, Arizona.
Dave, thanks.
And here's the thing I think that is going to resonate with most of you. If you guys were out in that parking lot, or like our friends from Iowa who were just in a gas station for too long, right? According to my video and John Bryan's video, where you just, this cop just rolls up and says, you were in the gas station an awful long time, and starts questioning them, right? If you were under suspicion for something by these police officers, and you said, yeah, somebody did A, B, C, or D, they wouldn't believe anything you said. They wouldn't believe a single thing you said. But for whatever reason, this guy who's being trespassed from a store, who's been a nuisance, and they've called the police on him, they don't do a single bit of investigation to try to figure out what to do. Let's say that they stopped the car and the driver stopped in the gas station parking lot. If you pulled up as an auditor and were filming them, and they don't want you to film them, they would take their asses inside that gas station and solicit a trespass just to try to get you out of there, to try to hem you up on something. But this guy is being ejected as a part of the complaint process from the store employees, and they do no investigation and no follow-up to try to figure out whether there's any credibility attached to what he's saying. And as a result, they go out there unreasonably and try to snatch this guy up, and then all of a sudden they're in a big melee that they caused, and they just they almost killed this guy. They really did. It's August in the Arizona heat, and they've got this guy who's got a disability, who can't hear, who has no freaking clue what's going on. This is heartbreaking to think about what must have been going through his mind. And they're just out there tasering him on the hot pavement, all that stuff, over literally nothing. And here's the other thing. They don't report that this is a huge problem to their supervisors, or if they do, their supervisors did nothing about it. We now know, based on a recent report of maybe 2 days ago, that they are actually investigating these officers. They won't comment as to whether it's a criminal investigation. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. We're Phoenix PD. We got it under control. We're investigating ourselves. That's the kind of investigation they're currently doing. It's being looked at by Internal Affairs from the same department that the feds are getting ready to take over. But don't worry, the feds are garbage too. So don't worry about that. We'll cover that in a future video that's coming up in the next week or so. But the point is, they didn't tell the prosecutor. They didn't tell their superiors. They didn't report it to IA that this guy had all these problems. And if they did, all of these people in positions of authority did nothing. What it took was people like you guys watching videos, calling and making a stink. And that's what got this thing dismissed. Because once millions of people see this and the phones start ringing off the hook, all of a sudden, now the district attorney thinks she might take a little bit of time and look at this case to see, God forbid she know what the case looked like and have some of the evidence in her hand and know what they're going up against before she even tried to sell a probable cause finding to a judge. No, her staff went out there and got this thing bound over on probable cause with him being charged with felony assault. This guy is beaten half to death by the Phoenix Police Department, tasered on the hot pavement, disabled, deaf, all of the things, right? And he's the one getting hemmed up with criminal charges. In closing, this is the power. There's a lot of drawbacks to social media. There are a lot of things about social media that I absolutely despise. One of them is the sense of entitlement that comes along with people. But one of the beautiful, powerful things that has come from social media is the ability to touch a situation halfway across the world or halfway across the country by simply picking up the telephone and making a call and saying, hey, I know about that. I know what you did was wrong. I want somebody held accountable for it. Because when that stuff started happening and these news stations started to run with this story and people like John Bryan got 1 million people to look at this, that's what made the difference. Because all of a sudden, well, the mayor of Phoenix is looking at this. Well, all of a sudden, the district attorney that's elected in Maricopa County, she's looking at this. Oh, well, it turns out we didn't have any reason to charge this guy. Well, we didn't even have any reason to lay our hands on this guy. They're going to be paying a massive settlement to Tyrone McAlpin. He's already, according to the video, filed as a notice of claim, which he has to do within a certain period of time to let the Phoenix city government know that they're fixing to get sued, right? And so that's happened. And it's going to be, I cannot wait. I want to see Tyrone McAlpin sleeping on a bed of $100 bills, just starting fires in the fireplace of his log. I hope he comes up to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee and buys a $10 million cabin in Gatlinburg on the top of the mountain and just blows the money out. Let the wind take it away and feed the homeless or something. The amount of money that I hope this guy gets, I hope this guy gets billions of dollars. I just, if there ever was a person that deserved to be paid, it's this guy. I know it elicits rage inside you to know that this guy was treated this way, but keep fighting the good fight. This guy is going to get paid. He survived it. I'm sure traumatized forever, but he's going to get paid. And I, being a perpetual optimist, which I know some of you hate about me, but it is who I am, I believe that things are going to change. I just don't see any hope that exists in anything other than holding on to the belief that things are going to change. Things are going to change. But I'm happy I don't live in the shithole that is Phoenix, Arizona. I do know that. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. Thanks for sticking it out. If you do want to support the Southern Draw Law channel, I do not do any sort of memberships. I'll put my Venmo and PayPal links here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.